I'm Hannah and I'm a reformed racist. I literally cut my own nose off to spoil my face. Let me tell you a few things about being born multiracial. Right from birth, you're labeled by your visual characteristics, like your skin color and facial features. You're born marginalized with no awareness of this cultural exposure, stripped of your birthright. I grew up confused, not knowing my racial identity. So I decided to change the socially constructed identity given to me. I entered society with a fake version of who I was, a fake identity. It was one of the coldest Canadian winters in Toronto the night that I journeyed by bus to Montreal. Upon arrival, I was given an old, clean hospital gown and instructed to lie on the table covered with plastic so that my blood could be wiped off easily. As I lay under the thin sheets, I hear the old doctor murmuring, "Local anesthesia, heavy sedation." His words caught my attention. Wait a minute, did he say local anesthesia and sedation? I panicked, terrified at the thought of feeling his surgical knife cut into my soft lips and eyelids. But it was too late. There was no going back now. The old Korean plastic surgeon, for a fee that I could afford, made me pretty with wider eyes, thinner lips, and a straight nose. The white version of me I've always wanted. As I tiptoed to look in the small cracked mirror in the bamboo frame hanging on the wall of our house, I'm wishing with all my heart that I'd see a pretty face looking back at me. But each time, my little heart sank. The face looking back at me was ugly. I looked black. Mom heard me and said, "Hannah, dear, you're not ugly. You have many beautiful races." But I wasn't seeing the white one. My bottom lip looked swollen like a bee stung me. I inherited this from my black grandpa. My slanted eyes became slits when I smiled, and I couldn't see anything when I laughed. They were from my Chinese grandmother. But what I hated the most was my flat nose. It looked like a train ran over it, leaving behind a wide space between both ends. Got this from my Chinese grandmother and my black grandfather. The message I got from society is that there are two racial options: the black race, which is inferior, and the white race, which is superior. I was unaware of the value of my many races. And at the age when identity is at its most vulnerable, I desperately wanted to be pretty like the movie star Audrey Hepburn. She was elegant and she wore fancy hats. Her lips were always scarlet red. So at age 20, longing to belong, I did the unthinkable. I surgically erased my ethnic features so that I could fit in the privileged white communities in Caracas. I also wanted to be those glamorous models in their sexy bikinis competing for the Miss Universo and Miss Mundo titles. My pretty eyes were thinner and sexier. And best of all, I had a bridge in my nose. I was thrilled. Now things will start happening, I thought. And for a moment they did. The new sexy me had a sassiness I didn't have before. I felt bold and I used my newfound sex appeal to get what I wanted. But deep inside, I felt something was wrong. No matter how bold and sassy I acted, deep down, I knew that it was not real. And even though I looked like I belonged, I didn't feel like I belonged. I was still that unloved little girl that looked in the mirror and saw ugliness. Then some years later, I met a geneticist, and she told me that I should consider myself lucky. Because when you are born with many races, you inherit the dominant genes of each race, she said. She assured me that my many races, which I hated, each came with good traits, which I also inherited. It was the first time in my life it occurred to me that there were good traits that I inherited along with my racial features, and that these traits represent who I am. Like my black grandpa, I love to dance. Some say that he was born with rhythm in his soul. One love, let's get together and feel all right. I'm still practicing the rhythm and soul part, but I felt ashamed that I had permanently erased my own ethnic features. I couldn't undo my face. Then I saw the movie The Color Purple. Oprah and Whoopi Goldberg had the same features which I hated in myself so long ago. They didn't try to change themselves. They were authentic. They had a radiant beauty which shone from within. I looked inside to see if I could find that radiant beauty I saw in them within me. But all I found was guilt and shame. I asked myself, am I a racist against my own race? I came face to face with the truth. Yes, I am a racist against my own race. This realization was a pivotal moment. I stopped hiding behind my lies. I intentionally became involved in the Black communities. I no longer wanted to be white like the girls in the magazines, even though now I look like some of them. I encourage you to investigate by taking the popular DNA test with an open mind to see how many races you have that you are not even aware of. Racism has fractured many of us. We're challenged to face and make whole our fractured selves so that there is no basis for the escalation of systemic racism we are witnessing in our own backyard. I stopped caring what my nose, eyes, hair, or lips look like. I realized that I'm so much more than the sum of my races. I am a mixed work of art. Today, when I look in the mirror, I see the me that loves spicy Indian curries and dances to African drums. The me that loves to move and groove to gospel and reggae. The me that eats Chinese dumplings for breakfast. And in the evening, relax with a fine Portuguese glass of wine. In other words, the me that knows and enjoys the many rich cultures from my heritage. I've permanently returned the whiteness I borrowed. And in lieu of becoming Miss Universo, I've chosen entertaining and stage performances. Thank you.